Big time fight coming up this weekend at middleweight. We have the UFC debut of the former Bellator big man. It's Chidi Bang Bang and Njokuani taking on Powerbar, Quebec's own Marc-Andre Barriault. And for Barriault, he's one of those guys that switched up his camp in a big way. And he used to train out of the Quebec area. He's moved it down to Sanford MMA. It's paid off to great effect. And if you look at it for Barriault, coming into the UFC, loses to Christophe Jocko by split decision. He loses to Jun Park. Has that fight against Oscar Piata where he wins impressively, but it's overturned to a no contest. And then he gets a win over Abu Zaitsar and his last time out, Dalcha Lunjambula. And if you've ever seen Marc-Andre Barriault fight, whether it was over with TKO against Fredericton, New Brunswick's own Adam Hunter, he was the middleweight champ over there and the light heavyweight champ. And size is going to be a big factor in this fight. And I'm interested to see these two guys square up because for Njokuani, frame-wise, he is the bigger guy, but he spent time at welterweight early on in his career when he entered Bellator, had some of those weird catchweight fights at like 175, and then eventually made the move up to middleweight. But for Chidi Njokuani, he's a guy like Albert Duraev where I go, did you really need Dana White's Contender Series? Because he is a finished product, and he has been for a really long time. He's one of those guys that can get it done in so many different ways, whether it's long range or in the clinch with his knees. They're absolutely deadly, and you look at the strength of schedule for Chidi Njokuani. I mean, some of the losses, Brandon Thatch really early on in his career, Jeremy Kimball that ended up in the UFC, but he was thick. Wins over with Bellator against Ricky Rainey, Andrea Fiallo that just made his UFC debut, Melvin Gillard, who the state of Florida doesn't want fighting, lost to Andrei Koreshkov, went over Hisaki Kato, a guy who I always loved to watch fight, but just never really had it going on with Bellator.
He knocked out Joe Schilling in kickboxing and in MMA, so that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And then losses to John Salter and Rafael Carvalho. John Salter, yeah, he fought in the UFC. He's been at the top of the middleweight division with Bellator for a very long time. Rafael Carvalho, former Bellator middleweight champ forever. So listen, there's no shame in those losses. The trouble that I had with Chidi Njokuani, and the reason that it surprised me in 2021 that he wasn't with Bellator anymore is because he doesn't fight very often. And that's the big thing. From the start of his pro career until 2017, very, very active. One fight in 2019, one fight in 2020, the fight on Contender Series 2021 for Njokuani against Mario Souza that he ends up winning. And now here against Marc-Andre Barriault. Matt, I know we don't have enough good things to say about either one of these guys, so I'll let you pick where you want to start. But for Njokuani, it's got to be a weird one, and Vegas doesn't disclose purses, but I wonder what they're paying him, because this is a guy that main evented 3 Bellator shows, co-main event in 2 spots. Like, I'm surprised that this is the way that it's gone for him.
I think this fight's going to go one of 2 ways, and there's not a single other possibility, and I think you'll agree with me, but maybe you won't. It's either going to look exactly like when Dakota Bush fought Slava Claus, or when Tyron Spong fought Sergey Karatanov, and I don't think there's an in-between whatsoever. Either Chidi Njokuani goes in there this weekend and blasts Marc-Andre Barriault with like a check knee to the body when he's coming in, hits him with a combo on the exit, drops him and knocks him out, or Marc-Andre Barriault is going to crawl his way to another decision. Because here's the thing. I'm going to sound really harsh when I say this because Marc-Andre Barriault is a very, very good mixed martial artist, but I'm going to bring up a classic Dana White quote when he talked about Ben Askren. Do you know what the cure for insomnia is? Watching a power bar fight. Marc-Andre Barriault knows what he is really good at, which is a huge benefit. Like, there's a lot of times we talk about fighters like Sarah McMahon, for instance, who she might not always know what her exact skills are and might not make the fight that will at least give her the best chance of winning. With Barriault, he doesn't have that issue whatsoever. He knows that he needs forward pressure, smart striking defense, and an intelligent wrestling and clinch game, I'll say. But I'll be honest, if this fight's going to win any bonus money whatsoever, it's because Chidi Njokuani probably won.
And if you go back and you watch Marc-Andre Barriault when he took on Abu Zaitsar, it was because Zaitsar blew his load really, really fast, and Barriault comes back. The fight against Piata, he looked amazing in that fight. The fight against Dalcha Lunjambula, he outpoints him in that one. Now, getting ready for this fight at Sanford MMA, it's funny because one of the names that you brought up is a training partner of Marc-Andre Barriault. It's a guy who has no takedown defense, but all boxing, kickboxing, Tyrone Spong. And he also trained a little bit with Dalcha Lunjambula, who he just fought. So really interesting stuff from Barriault.
Small world.
But when I look at this fight, yeah, I mean, for Njokuani, he's one of those guys that he can mix in the takedown of his own. He can mix in the upper body throws. I would not do that against Marc-Andre Barriault. You're going to struggle there. But if he is in a clinch position, he can definitely have good success. getting himself out of there with that upper body pressure that he does have and really starting to go to the body with the knees, because unlike brother Anthony, who just lost over with Eagle FC, Chidi is much better at the wrestling than his brother, who was a great kickboxer. So when I look at the odds for this one, Njokuani open to plus 120 underdog. He's minus 109 right now. And for Barriault, open the favorite, minus 140. Again, pick 'em odds for this one. The Tapology votes surprised us. They are to you. Matt, I'm going to say 60% for the guy who's been with the promotion for a bit. And Barriault, what would you say?
I'm going to flip it. I think Chidi will be the favorite.
Chidi being the favorite? No, 877 total votes, 65% Barriault, 82% by decision, 35% on Njokuani, 50% by decision, 39% by knockout. I think this is going to be a great fight. And with Barriault, he's one of those guys. We talked about it with another Canadian, Alexis Davis, on this card. Steady Eddie. Marc-Andre Barriault has one gear and he does not get out of it. And I just wanted to throw it out there. In his last fight, he actually bucked that trend, so proving me wrong a little bit. The significant strikes that he had against Dalchalin Jambula, round 1, 15 strikes. Round 2, 38 strikes. Round 3, 65. He did the same thing against Abu Zaitsar, but in his other fights before those two, normally keeps a great pace throughout. Chidi Njokuani can do the same thing, but he can also finish fights late as well. So I think this fight matched up very well, lined very evenly. It is a tough one to try and make a pick on.
I just laugh because you said this is going to be a great fight. It'll be a great fight if you're in Powerbar's corner, I think, because I really do think he's going to be able to slow this fight to a halt. And this is one of those fights where if you're looking at who's going to have the higher ceiling or who the promotion probably wants to win, like, they probably want Chidi Njokuani to win. He's an exciting fighter, and like you said, he does have a bit of a backstory. Like, it's not like Justin Gaethje's coming over from World Series of Fighting, but it's not like you just have a random guy who won Contender Series now making their UFC debut. I do think the general audience, maybe not everybody, of course, but you know what I mean. There's at least some people who recognize him from Bellator, and I do think that if he does win this fight, it will be by finish. It'll be very spectacular, but I do see Barriault grinding this to a halt, putting him up against the cage, going for takedowns, maybe not securing all the takedowns, but making it one of those fights where he gets Chidi down to the ground and Njokuani kind of gets back up and gets his posture broke. I just think Barriault's going to be able to make it boring.
To me, I look at this one, and Barriault was a guy, he struggled against Christophe Jocko in a close fight, but Jocko's one of those guys that can fight off the back foot, throw a lot of volume
at male Caitlin Chukagian.
Lost to Jin Young Park, and I think Chidi Njokuani really kind of embodies a fight style like that. Where
I hope.
He can get it done at range. He can get it done in the clinch. He's one of those guys that if he gets taken down, I do worry about him in a fight against a guy like Barriault, maybe more so than some other guys. But I do like Njokuani in this fight. I think he's a better striker, and I think he's going to be able to get the win. Coming up this weekend, so we're differing on the pick. Matt going with Quebec's own Marc-Andre Barriault. I've got Chidi Bang Bang and Njokuani, a name that Michael C. Williams always loved to put a little bit of spice on over with Bellator. But it should be an interesting fight nonetheless. You let us know down below in the comments section who you have in this fight and the rest of them coming up on this card. We got a great one. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.